We're live. 7 o'clock. Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome. If we haven't met, my name is Juan Palomino. So grateful to have you guys all here. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, welcome. Come on in. Hey, do me a favor. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Just city. Let me know. Hey, Juan, I'm tuning in from this city. It's great to have you all here. Thanks for jumping on. Yeah. All right, so we're going to talk about boundaries. I'm going to get into it, and we'll post it, after the fact. But yeah, thanks for being here. I appreciate you for being here. So the question is this: have you ever felt guilty for saying no to someone? Anybody ever felt guilty for saying no to someone? Whether that's a child, whether that's your spouse, a friend, maybe a pastor, even at a church. You said no and you walked away. And you're like, oh man, I don't know what I did there. Or have you ever felt like, setting a boundary makes you the bad guy, right? If you ever felt that, if you answered yes, well, I need you to know that this live that you're tuning into is for you. Tonight what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the truth about boundaries. Yes, boundaries, everyone. And why, listen to this, why they're actually one of the most loving things that you can do. Yes, okay? So let's get into it right away. I hope you're taking notes. It's going to bless you. So what are boundaries really? With the 10 plus years of experience that I've had, working with people, I found that boundaries, they're not walls. I know boundaries sometimes have a negative connotation towards them, but boundaries are not walls. Okay, that's first and foremost. They're actually clarity. They're clarity about what is okay and what's not okay. All right? And they also help you love better and for people to love you and not less. Okay? Once again, so boundaries are not walls. And it brings clarity to a relationship. And also it helps you love better and it helps them to love you better. Okay, so let's get right into the common myths. Okay, because there's some common myths that need to be busted out there. Okay, maybe you know these myths, or maybe you thought about these myths about boundaries. And so here's one that I hear a lot. Pastor, I just think that boundaries are selfish. You ever think that, or someone ever tell you that? It's not true. The truth is boundaries protect your connection. In the relationship, whatever that relationship is, it protects it. Okay, it protects the connection. Here's another myth. If I set boundaries, I'll lose people. Isn't that one of the greatest fears that we all have? That if we change the relationship, if we set a boundary, we think that we're going to lose the people in our lives that we care about most. But that's not true. Hear me out. I promise you it's not true. The truth is, you may lose dysfunction. And isn't that what we really want? We want to lose dysfunction and not people. We want to lose the dysfunction in the people. All right. So another myth that is common is I just need to endure. I just need to endure if I love them. In other words, I just need to put up with them. Come on, somebody. Anybody putting up with people out there? Okay, again, that's a lie. The truth is, here's the truth. Love without boundaries becomes resentment. Anybody living with resentment out there? I mean, you love the person, but there's some things that you just resent. Okay? We can help you with that. You can overcome resentment. Okay, so let's look in the mirror. All right, when I'm coaching someone, I'm always saying, okay, so let's look in the mirror, not look out the window. Okay, so we're not going to think about that person. We're going to think about ourselves right now. Okay, so come with me. Just go, okay, I'm looking in the mirror right now, Juan. Awesome. Here are some signs that you may need to set boundaries. Okay, signs that you need a boundary. All right, number one, when you're done having a conversation with that person, you just feel drained. You ever had a conversation with someone, you walk away with them, or you hung out with them for some time, and then you just feel drained or even resentful. You're resentful because after you spend time with someone. Okay, that's a sign that that relationship needs a boundary. All right? Okay, another sign. You say yes out of fear. You begin to just say yes out of fear. Why? Because you think that they're going to leave you, or you think that they're going to act out, or they're going to, stonewall you. There's going to be a negative consequence. Okay. The next sign that you need a boundary is you begin to over-explain why you're doing things. Why did you do things? Where were you? You begin to over-explain. And the other part is you over-apologize. Ever find yourself there? You're just apologizing. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry I made this. Oh, I'm sorry I did that. And you're just doing your best. And then lastly, you feel invisible, right? There's nothing that you can do to appease that person, okay? So I want to give you now a framework, very simple, on how you can begin to set boundaries, okay? It's 3 C's. If you're writing down, the first C in boundary setting is clarity. I teach people that I coach that we can't, assume that the person knows how clear our lines are, right? How clear our boundaries are. We need to give them the clarity. So here's the question. What do you need? Simple. What do you need? It's interesting that when I have a conversation with people and I'm coaching them, it's hard for someone that doesn't know how to set boundaries to ask for what they need. An example, I was talking to a guy the other day, somebody that I'm coaching, and I said, what do you need? And you know what he said? He said, man, I need space, after work before I jump into a conversation with my wife. I was like, okay, that's wonderful. And here's the next question I asked. I go, so does she know that? I think so. Or have you asked in the past? Have you asked in your relationship? And they've been married 15 years. I go, does she know that? All right. So clarity is the first C. Okay. The next one is courage. Okay? You need to speak it even if your voice cracks. Even if your hands shake, the very first time that you begin to set boundaries, you need to, again, speak it. Even if you're, setting the boundary with the person and you're fearful, you have to do it. I always explain it, I love to work out. I work out 5 days a week, and it's leg day. Think of like going to do legs, and you hit the legs, hard, and then your legs are all shaky afterwards, right? Because your legs are not used to it. Resistance, okay? So we have to get used to the resistance from the person, but us still going through our workout. And then you'll get stronger as time goes by, okay? So we have clarity, we have courage, and then the last C is consistency. Man, I can't harp on enough to tell you that consistency is so important. When I set boundaries, my wife and I set boundaries for our kids. We can't I tell her, we can't do it one time and then not uphold it. There has to be consistency, and there has to be reinforcement, right? If you tell me once, hey, Juan, I didn't like your tone of voice, when we had that conversation, we had that argument. Okay, all right, that's one time. The next time I forget and raise my voice again, and there has to be reinforcement. Again, clarity, courage to say it again, and consistency, all right? And, some of the statements that I help people use, one of them, for example, it's 5 simple words. If the person in your life consistently breaks your boundary, reinforce it and say something like this, 5 words, that doesn't work for me. Very gently, hey, Juan, I love you, but that doesn't work for me. The person looks at you weird, like, what do you mean that doesn't work for you? Yeah, right now the tone of your voice and how you're just basically coming down hard on me and you're yelling and maybe you're using, bad language, profanity. That doesn't work for me. It triggers me. That doesn't work for me. Okay? So you have to, again, be clear, be courageous, and be consistent. Another, statement is this. Hey, listen, Jenna, I value our time, but I've realized that I need, time to just, unwind, in order for me to show up well, for dinner and our conversation, once I'm home, because I still kind of have work in my head and I need to really unwind first. So give me 30 minutes, to unwind, and I hope you can honor that. You see that? So you could reinforce that. I'm clear, right? I'm being courageous about letting, the person that I'm in a relationship with, what my boundary is, and I'm also being consistent. Okay. So I want to share with you a quick story transitioning, how I, struggled with this. The way you learn, how to set boundaries is by going through it. So I remember years ago before doing what I was doing, I actually was a general manager of a fitness gym. Yes, I was in the fitness industry. And we had a harsh boss. You could think of just like this a slave driver, right? Somebody that wanted us there 10 to 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, working long hours, checking cameras, just making sure that, we were making sales, on and on and on. And he had no problem asking us to come in on days off. He had no problem asking us to come in on holidays. And he didn't care if, the kids had baseball games on Saturday. What is that like? If production wasn't doing well, he expected you to be there. And he was really good, hear me out, at using guilt for manipulation. And so that begins to wear on you. Listen to me, when you don't set healthy boundaries, it begins to wear on you, because then you begin to think about, man, like, I fear that I'll lose my position. I fear that I'll lose this relationship, which is a job that pays me a paycheck. There's so many fears. But what happens is that that begins to take a toll on you, and thoughts begin to ruminate in your mind of all the stress, because you're not able to set healthy boundaries, to have a healthy balance, if you will, and saying no, what works for you and what doesn't. And so that happened to me. And so I would take that home, and I began to be really short with my relationships at home, with my spouse, with the kids, and all because I didn't know how to say no, how to set healthy boundaries, how to tell someone, hey, that doesn't work for me, right? The 5 words that I just taught you, that doesn't work for me. That's, I hope you value my time, but if we're going to have a healthy relationship together, here's my expectations. All right. And so what happened is I actually got the courage, everyone. Come on. Like I said earlier, right? Clarity, courage, and consistency. And I began to say no, right? In an email or directly, and say, hey, I can't show up for that. If there's another day or time that I can make up hours or whatever, this and that. But Saturday, I can't make it because I already have a commitment, and it's for my family. And because we all deal with unhealthy people, come on, right? And they're not ready for that, or they're not used to people setting boundaries for them, and they want to have their way or whatever it is and take advantage of us. It ended up in a conversation of me really speaking to my wife and saying, I don't think this is healthy long term for us. And so I left the job. Okay. I was brave enough to say, this relationship isn't working. And so to have a healthy mindset, be mentally well, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and trusting God financially, I was like, this is not going to work. And so it was a great, trust me, the decision was great. It turned out well. Okay. So finally, I just want to share this with you, okay, as I literally wrap up. Thank you for joining me again. Thanks for being here. Hope this is helping you out. Listen, if you've been trying to rebuild, after betrayal or someone's hurt you and just boundaries feel impossible for you, I want you to know that I get it. All right? But I want you to know that there's also a way out. In other words, there is a solution. And I want to invite you to something that will help you go deeper. All right? And so next Wednesday on May 21st, I'm hosting a webinar. It's going to be at 10 a.m. live. It's a Zoom, and we're going to just dive deeper and have just more conversation about, how to have a breakthrough in this area. Now, I say this area because if we're honest, our lives depend on relationships. Everything that we do, right? Whether it's, you have a family, you're working with people at a job, your business, whatever that is, it's all about relationships. And so I want to invite you, to check it out. The webinar is called The 3 Rebuilding Mistakes and Beliefs That Are Holding You Back. You have some beliefs that are holding you back. And there are some mistakes that I have found, over the years that we make that we don't even know we're making them. We're making them, if you will, unconsciously. And so I want to share this with you so that you can have a breakthrough. Okay? My goal again is to help you, yes, you as you're listening to this, to uncover what's holding you back. What's holding you back, and also move forward with, courage, clarity, and purpose. So listen, you can register right now in the link in my bio. As soon as, this live is over, you can go to my link in the bio, just click on it and register. Or you can go to my website, check it out. It's juanpalominocoaching.com. Okay, and the link will pop up, a little square to say sign up for the webinar. Sign up there. I want to encourage you to be there live again next Wednesday, May 21st. Put it on your calendar, and I'll send reminders out. And thank you again for being here. I'm so excited. I hope this helped you. Share it with a friend and invite them to the webinar again next Wednesday, May 21st. All right. Thanks for being here. Have a good evening.